A studio cannot have two games running concurrently. One game is going to cannibalize the other. That's the common sentiment found online. When Honkai Star Rail was announced, people thought, it's going to be a failure. Of course it's going to be a failure. It's not an action game. For a game to be a success, it needs to be an action game. They were subsequently proven wrong. Even if Honkai Star Rail wasn't an overwhelming success, neither was Genshin Impact for that matter. Both games are from HoYoverse. HoYoverse, of course, is a very small indie studio. Many of you probably haven't even heard of it, especially when you compare it to its competition, the titan of the genre, Hada Studio, and their monolithic success, Tower of Fantasy. Oh, I tried to keep a straight face for that intro. MiHoYo is oversaturating their own player base. Curious question. Before we jump into this video, do you think HoYo is oversaturating the market? Do you think that their earnings overall have declined ever since they released Genshin or ever since they released Honkai Star Rail? Do you think Honkai Star Rail has cannibalized Genshin Impact, or Genshin Impact, now that Honkai Star Rail is out of its honeymoon period, is now cannibalizing Honkai? Genuinely curious. Let me know down in the comments below. Now let's read this thread, and then we'll go ahead and take a look at the earnings to see whether he's right and whether you're right by comparing Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact's earnings over the course of the last several months. I said this a while ago when they announced Zenless Zone Zero before Star Rail even came out, but MiHoYo is cutting their own throat by having multiple. That is, wow, cutting their own. That is an aggressive way of putting it. By having multiple gacha games doing the exact same thing. Hold on, wait, can we just back up? Can we just take a moment here to address this statement? In what world are Honkai Star Rail, Genshin Impact, and even Honkai Impact doing the same thing? When you add on to that Zenless Zone Zero, yeah, they're all very different games. Turn-based, story-driven, open world, action combat, instanced action combat, and a TV simulator. They are their 4 games: Zenless, Honkai Impact, Honkai Star Rail, and Genshin Impact. In no way do any of the 4 of those games do the same thing, which means they're all going to appeal to a different demographic of player and a completely different audience. So if that's his opening statement, his opening argument, he is wrong. Heck, I've even heard that they're currently developing another game that isn't Zenless Zone Zero. Yeah, it's, if I recall, an open world action game as well. It might be an open world shooter. I don't remember. I did a video on it a few months ago. Knowing MiHoYo, it's probably going to be another gacha game. That's what HoYo does. Of course it's going to be another gacha game. What? They literally make billions of dollars off of these. Yeah, when it comes to anime gacha games, there are only a finite amount of people who would even give these games a try. Well, that's also not true. Every year, there are millions more children born, probably tens of millions more children born. And the active player base for gacha games continues to grow. And there are an even lesser amount of people who would even spend money in more than one of these games. I mean, I spend money in Nikke, Blue Archive, Arc Knights, and Reverse 1999. I know a lot of people that spend money in more than one gacha game as well. He is grouping together an overwhelmingly large amount of people. He's generalizing players when he knows maybe a couple of them. Even more so, MiHoYo has a massive overlap in players between their games. It's probably the first factual statement he's made. You see where I'm going with this? Most normal people aren't going to be playing any more than 2 gacha games at once. Clearly, he doesn't know the majority of gacha gamers who have like 4 or 5 pages worth of gacha games that they play. And can we just make a quick note here? You can log into Honkai and Genshin for 10 minutes a day just to do dailies, and then not log in again and not play for more than 10-15 minutes a day each day until the next major patch drops. You can definitely fit in 20 to 30 minutes worth of game time amongst 2 to 4 different games. You can. It's possible. I know I'm far from a casual consumer and I can only juggle 3 of these games. I mean, that seems more like a skill issue, if we're being honest. What MiHoYo is doing is creating an unstable situation for them in the long run. No, they're not. They're continuing to increase how much money they're making total per month by an exorbitant amount, which we'll go over in just a minute. All they've done was increase their operating costs, true, while reducing their profit margins. Not true. Where is his proof here? He's just making claims without backing them up. Gacha consumers don't have an unlimited amount of money, Nor is clearly he's never met a whale before. Nor is HoYo the only company out there creating these high quality 3D gacha games. But I mean, like, let's look at the competition. Tower of Fantasy. I mean, yeah, there are other gacha games out there that are coming. Project Mugen, Wuthering Waves, Arknight's Enfield, Wang Yua, Duet Night Abyss, Unending Dawn, but at the same time, as fun as they might all be, there are very few, if any, that are going to match the same quality as a HoYo title. So no, they are not of equivalent, comparable quality. Sooner or later, something is going to give. I don't disagree with that though. I wouldn't be surprised if in a few years they start sunsetting some of their least profitable games. That's also doubtful because I don't see, unless they make a critical mistake somewhere, I do not foresee them declining by a substantial amount, enough where they would begin end of servicing their games. Let's take a look at what some of the comments say. Before we do though, I want to take a moment here to thank our incredible patrons over on Patreon and allow for me to continue to do dedicated videos like this every single day. You guys are phenomenal and I cannot thank you all enough. Now let's take a look at the comments. If Genshin and Star Rail are doing the exact same thing, I think I've been playing something wrong then. Yeah, I was confused when the new whale boss in Genshin stopped moving after hitting one of my characters and I realized it was my turn to attack it. You think casual players would give a fuck? I bet most of them don't even know or realize that Genshin, Honkai, Star Rail, and Zenless are made by the same company. People can play one and not the others. That's why they're exploring different genres to target different people. Exactly. Every genre, every category of game has its own player base. If they target each respective player base, they're going to have more and more people playing their games. That's just how it works. I think EA should hire this guy immediately and stop their copy-paste franchise. And you're giving this advice for free? Literally scamming your son. HoYo should hire you as a financial advisor. I'm sure they have no idea what they're doing. This guy is getting roasted. Oh God. All right, now let's go ahead here and compare earnings. I have a website, mygachahub.com, where I cover upcoming games, new games, Eastern games, Asian games, pre-registrations, beta tests, etc., etc. But I also do a monthly earning report where I cover the 20 highest grossing gacha games in each respective month. Now, I actually don't have November listed here because I have to post November's. I think I just finished writing that up yesterday, so I will go ahead and post that probably in the next day or two. But let's track the last 6 months worth of earnings and see where Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact are at. Genshin Impact in the month of May 2023 was making $95 million worldwide. This was combining both China and global. So it was making roughly $45 to $50 million at the time. Honkai Star Rail was making $42 million in June 2023. Honkai Star Rail made over $200 million. And Genshin made over $34 million. This makes sense because a lot of the players were playing Honkai Star Rail at the time, but it saw a decrease of maybe $10 million. And I also want to point out here, we will see increases and decreases depending on which banners are running. But if we take a look at the month before Honkai Star Rail came out, just to compare Genshin's earnings, Genshin was making $47 million globally. That's maybe a couple $1 million more than it was making after Honkai Star Rail came out. So Genshin made $34 million, Honkai made $200 million in the month of June. July, Honkai Star Rail made $96 million, and Genshin made $57 million. This is 2 months after Honkai Star Rail has come out. It actually made more money in the month of July than it did the month before Honkai Star Rail came out. How is that proof that the game is declining? That's evidence to the contrary. Now let's take a look at August 2023. Honkai Star Rail made $65 million, and Genshin Impact made $54 million. Genshin continues to make upwards of $50 million. And Honkai Star Rail is now making $60 to $100 million. So if you think about it here, Genshin is making the same amount of money, but now they have the addition of Honkai Star Rail's income, which is potentially doubled how much HoYo is making per month. Then we have September 2023, Honkai Star Rail with $50 million, Genshin with $44 million. Combined total of almost $100 million, and when you combine China, almost $200 million. Still absolutely phenomenal numbers and proof that 3-4 months out, neither game is showing really much in terms of decline, and they're still making a combined total of significantly more than Genshin was making without the addition of Honkai Star Rail. October 2023, Honkai Star Rail made $40 million, Genshin Impact made $36 million. This is much like, I think it was June, where Genshin made $34 million, so even in a declined state, it's still making $36 million. Honkai making 40. Combined total of $76 to $80 million just globally, disregarding China, for a combined total with China of over $150 million. Evidently, neither game is cannibalizing the other. They are actually appealing to both the same audience and different audiences, helping boost one another, helping boost HoYo's overall revenue. And I guarantee you Zenless Zone Zero is going to function much the same way. Is HoYo declining? Is HoYo in trouble? Is HoYo dying? No, quite the contrary. There is no oversaturation going on at all here. On the contrary, they are thriving. And I cannot wait to see how this continues to affect the genre with the release of Zenless Zone Zero. Now, if none of these games are at any interest to you, absolutely no problem. Got you covered with 2 different videos on screen right now. That might be more up your alley.